Over at the site at sportstalkatl.com, I've started cooking up some trade hypotheticals for some potential targets, especially ones that I favor. And I've talked about on the show, my favorite potential trade target is Randy Arozarena. And for multiple reasons, because I think he's an excellent fit in the clubhouse because of the infectious attitude and, just kind of what he brings from a locker room perspective. And I think that's almost just as important for this team as the play on the field. By the way, he's one of the best postseason hitters of all time, over 300 average, 11 homers in just 33 games. So he's a stud when the lights are the brightest. I cooked up a hypothetical trade. It's Hurston Waldrep. It's a straight up trade. Hurston Waldrep for Randy Arozarena. Now, if you go to MLB Trade Finders, it'll say this trade way favors the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't listen to MLB Trade Finders. I know a lot of people maybe out there do, but frankly, they're not often correct. And secondly, I think circumstances matter.
Yes,
this is a buyer's market, right? You're gonna have to overpay for a guy with multiple years of control, has that clubhouse presence. Like, that's something that's not taken into account. There's so many buyers and so few sellers.
Is it really an overpay? Let's consider where the Braves are at in the present and in the future. If the Braves are that dependent on Hurston Waldrep to make it to the rotation and be a substantial piece in the rotation, we're in a terrible spot in the future regardless. I think the Braves can afford to give up that kind of guy for a guy in a Randy Arozarena who can help the team win now. Oh, and he's under contract for 2 more years after this for a Braves team that has more questions than answers in the outfield in 2025 with Acuna coming up. Is this really an overpay? Hurston Waldrep came up and we all love him. We think, that splitter is you say it's a unicorn pitch. He has more to do in terms of refining his array of offerings. But let's call a spade a spade. The kid's a nothing. He has proven absolutely nothing. And Randy Arozarena has done more than proven, even amid one of the worst seasons of his career.
Yeah, I mean, Hurston Waldrep, at the end of the day, his best use is a trade chip. That's what his best use is. It's very likely that he ends up being a reliever or injured or you're just out of the league in 6 years than he is a frontline starter for the Atlanta Braves. And that's just the truth with every single prospect that we're going to discuss in any of these hypotheticals ever. Yeah, you're right. In the history of ever, it's more likely that they're out of the league than a frontline starter. I like what Hurston Waldrep brings. I like him in the Rays organization. That's an organization that
I think it works well for both.
Has developed pitchers as well as anyone. They're a team that probably doesn't want to rebuild fully. They're more like retooling, and Hurston Waldrep could be up in the majors for them next year or the season after. So I think this is a fair swap.
I think might not even be enough when you consider, like you said, the landscape of the trade deadline where it's going to be a seller's market. You think about the teams that are going to be in the market for a guy like Randy Arozarena or, just outfielders in general. Think about Seattle, who's got loads of talent to trade. The Dodgers got loads of talent to trade. And the Braves might have to give more than Hurston Waldrep. I don't think, and this is all speculative. We don't know what the conversations are going. We're just guessing. But I don't think people quite understand the simple, relationship between a proven commodity and a very unproven commodity. And Randy Arozarena is the former. It's a no-brainer. I mean,
listen, if this was before the season, Hurston Waldrep wouldn't even have started the conversation. So just because Randy Arozarena is in the middle, I don't know how much that slump is going to affect teams wanting him, because you are trying to project what it'll be in the future, but maybe that affects a little, but I don't think it affects that much, because I just think when you look at the postseason stuff, you look at his track record and you look at just what he brings from a clubhouse perspective and those kind of vibes and that kind of energy and stuff like that, that's all going to be highly, highly coveted. Oh, by the way, 2+ years of control. And anytime you're paying for multiple years of control, it's going to get pricey. And the fact that it's a seller's market. So yeah, if it costed more than Hurston Waldrep, it wouldn't surprise me, but if it was a trade centered around Hurston Waldrep and a mid-tier,
it's not going to be Hurston Waldrep and AJ Smith-Shawver. It's going to be Hurston Waldrep and somebody outside of our top 10.
And I think that to me, that's a trade that I think a Braves, I like a deal like that. And if they prefer AJ Smith-Shawver, I'm doing the same thing, right?
You could have any one of the top pitching prospects in my opinion,
and whichever one you want, take your letter and give me Randy Arozarena, plug him into the outfield for the next several years, figure out the rest later.
Yep.
I think, and that's also maybe a little bit me being biased. I love Randy Arozarena, but I also just think he to me, I'm looking at all these trade prospects and I'm like, this is the guy. This is the guy that makes the most sense on this team. Let's figure out a way to make it happen. If it's Hurston Waldrep, that's a deal that I'm probably doing 10 times out of 10.